Hi.
We are.
Okay, first of all, I have a question. Abraham, do you speak Spanish? You do?
Don't go there.
Don't go. Okay, I'm going to try to translate to English because Spanish is my first language. Okay, I hope you understand. Okay, first of all, like 10 years ago, I went to an evangelical church. And when I was there, I felt this energy came all over me. I started speaking in a different language. In a different language. And
he wants to know if it was English.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
it was actually many different languages, wasn't it?
Right. People told me that we're like an angelical language. You know, I was not familiar with it. But, and then I started realizing that after I speak this language, this weird language, I start to do the translation into Spanish. And later on, there's a lot of people came to me and they told me that every single word that I was saying, you know, in Spanish, God was talking to them. So my question for you is that what's the difference between channeling because in the evangelical church they call like a prophecy. So I would like to know which is the difference between channeling and a prophecy. If it is the same, or because I love the way that you do it. Like you don't have to talk in another language and you straight up to the subject, and and you speak amazingly. I'm like, wow, you know. So I would like to know which is the difference between prophecy and channeling, and how
just a different word. In other words, it's like the basketball player who's in the zone, channeling. It's like the physician in surgery receiving inspiration and clarity and deftness and focus and intuitively knowing what to do, channeling. But the word matters not. Jerry and Esther don't like the word because it means a lot of things that they are not doing. Prophecy is not a word that they like very much either, because most prophets end up with very bad endings. In other words,
right.
But what we are all talking about is really what the subject of this gathering is about, which is understanding that you have always been an extension of source energy, and to a very great degree you can control how open the passageway is between who you really are and who you're being in any moment in time. And you can call that anything you want. We think that our rapper friend is channeling, and we think that he often is channeling even when he's using the out of the vortex terminology in his protest. In other words, in effect, in actuality, everyone who is physically focused, which includes all of you here, are channeling that which comes forth from within you at one time or another. If you ever yawn, you are channeling an impulse that the cells have requested that the larger part of non-physical energy is offering. In other words, the semantics do not matter at all. You are extensions of source energy, and it really is, from our perspective, a very good time for humans to begin to accept their connection to that which is source. Most people have been trained by those who want to be powerful to believe that you all are unworthy of the receiving of this energy. It needs to be focused through a specific other one. And we want to tell you that we have known every single one of those specific other ones, and every one of them, from prophet to that which you call God, to that which you call Christ, to that which you call Buddha, to that which you call Muhammad, to that, and many, many more names that are not as often uttered. Every single one of them was saying to every one of those who was listening at the time, you all have access to this energy. What is it that makes humans want to pinch themselves off from the source of that which is them and then assign the information to something outside of them is one of the great mysteries of the universe. It really is. So it doesn't matter what you call it, but what does matter is that you are aware of the way you feel, that you've shown yourself what connection feels like, and that you tell by the way you feel as it is flowing what or who you are connected to. Because it's possible for you to channel a stream of negative thought forms. In other words, anyone who's been frustrated or worse and out of the vortex and thinking thoughts is submitting these thoughts into the vastness, and law of attraction is gathering those thoughts into a stream. And you could get yourself into a negative enough quagmire that you could begin receiving the stream of thoughts from that, you see. It's sort of like learning how to read a book. You could read a book that is uplifting, or you could read a book about destruction. And the fact that you can read is not the defining factor. It's what you're choosing to read that makes the difference. And so it's the same thing. When you recognize that you are a translator, make sure that you are in the vibrational vicinity so that what is given to you to translate is in vibrational alignment with the whole of you, not a fragmented part of you.
One thing that I notice is that every time that I do the translation is just this unconditional love that I feel this messenger is talking to people. It's just regarding to that they love them, they want the best. They're like, they can do this, they can do that. It's amazing the love that I can feel it, and makes me feel like I want to help people. I want to do this for people. I feel like an energy in me that is really good. It's
but
like
the thing, let us give you something that will help you and them. When you tap into that, and you are, and you feel the fullness of it, and you do, and conscious, clear words flow to you, and they do, just know that your job is to hold yourself in a place where you connect with the stream, and it is their individual jobs to be in the vicinity of receiving. In other words, when you say, I want to help them, this is the thing that is the most disruptive to so many healers and uplifters and teachers and helpers like you, or even like Esther with Abraham, is that if you see someone in their neediness, you cannot see them in their neediness and be connected to the stream at the same time. Because the source within you sees not their need, but their desire. The source within you sees not the absence of who they really are, but the full presence of who they really are. So it is our job to hold a spotlight, to focus ourselves into alignment with who they really are, holding steady that vision, making it potentially easier for them to then come into alignment with it. Have you been listening to us here today? Yeah. As we've been visiting with these wonderful people who have a vision and an idea of what they want, and we stubbornly hold steadily to who they are until they come around or don't. But we cannot, and neither can you, leave the vortex and be of any value to anyone.
And I have experienced really like a couple of weeks ago that I was in this dream, but all of a sudden the same messenger, the same message came to me and say, I'm going to give you a spiritual secret. And the spiritual secret is like giving is how you're going to receive. And the next day I felt when I see a homeless people, I got like a $5 bill and I gave it to him. And the same week in my company, I get like about $11,000, something that didn't happen before, because I believe in the message, and that's what I'm saying. Like these thoughts, this message that I get is real. And
it is real, but you've translated it so specifically. And here's what that message really is. In other words, if you want appreciation to be shined on you from the eyes of others, you can't control their point of view. You can't control what happened to them today. You can't even jump through hoops in enough ways to keep them all happy as they are observing you. So the way for you to get into sync with appreciation is for you to appreciate. In other words, you can control who you appreciate. You can control who you love. And when you get control of your love and of your appreciation, then you practice a vibrational standard that only allows things like that to come back to you. In other words, do you follow? The message was not, if you will take money out of your pocket and give it to another, someone else will take money out of their pocket and give it to you. The message is that who you are is what radiates, and what radiates is what law of attraction matches you up with. And you have control over your giving. You don't have control over your getting. You have control over what you give. You have control over what you think. You don't have control of what anybody thinks of you, but you have control of what you think, you see. There's so many people, teachers and healers, actors, all kinds of people in all kinds of phases of life who want to be well received, and so they want to contour their message or their beingness to please the others who might be observing them. And your angels said something very different than that to you. Your angels said to you, don't worry about what you're getting. Give your attention to what you're giving, because you can control that. And when you get good at maintaining that outpouring of love and that outpouring of appreciation and that outpouring of positive expectation, then that's the vibration you've practiced, and by law of attraction, that's the only thing that can come to you. But there will be hordes of people who will stand outside their vortices, looking at you in your thriving, who will demand of you, you need to give me some of what you've got. And what they mean is, give me your money, give me your time, give me your soul, give me your attention, give it to me. And that's why we're saying to you, we're confirming what you heard personally and individually. Your work is to tune to the vibration of who you are. That's why we call it source. It's source. In other words, when you hook up to the vortex that is source, you're sourced. You're sourced. You don't need somebody else to take money out of their pocket and give it to you. You've hooked into the stream of never-ending flow, you see. Good.
Yeah. So just the last thing that I want to. Okay. So I feel like I'm in kindergarten right now, respecting to the channeling, to the receiving messages from
Not
source.
at all. If that were true, then none of this other would have been happening to you. That is not true at all. And that statement is constructing something that is not helpful to you.
I know it's not helpful. But my question was that how can I become like Esther Hicks does? Straight up, she can start talking through source energy, like talking and talking and talking with the stuff. Because
by hooking up to the source energy before you start talking.
Start talking. Okay.
That's the answer. In other words, Esther was not looking for this. She did not want to stand on this platform. In fact, if someone had told her she would have made sure that she didn't. In other words, that was not her plan. And so the process for Esther was meditation for several months, 9 months. They sat in daily meditation while, without her knowing it, her vibration was being allowed to be tuned to the frequency of that which is Abraham. And once the resistance was absent and her vibration was in alignment with that which we are, that which she is and that which we are became one, you see. And it's the same for all of you. Esther is not doing something that you all can't do. She just is a patient person. These were the benefits that Esther had going on. She was already living happily ever after. She didn't have a big wad of stuff that she was pushing against. She was already in a general place of well-being. And so meditation came easily to her. In her first day of sitting to meditate, she felt her vibration raise enough that she felt full connection with us. She felt like she had her toe in a light socket. But it took several months of alignment with that before the energy was too strong for her because she was not ready for it, you see. So there are all kinds of people who jump in too soon, or when they're outside the vortex, they attempt to channel their message. Get into the vortex and then make love. Get into the vortex and then make your airline reservation. Get into the vortex and then speak for infinite intelligence.
Okay. Thank you.